up fair. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all your undertaker bills and let the mermaids flirt with me. A wife controls a happy home, a lover's hard to find. The only thing I can call my own is a troubled and a wearied mind. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all your undertaker bills and let the mermaids flirt with me. I do not work for pleasure, earthly peace I'll see no more. The only reason I work at all is to drive the wolf from my door. When my earthly trials are over, I cast my body out in the sea. Save all your undertaker bills and let the mermaids flirt with me.
We're sitting on Doohig Road at Noonschwander Road, which prior to 1915 was the main road to Sonoma from Napa. We're looking at the down Doohig Road, which was built in 1885. Prior to that time, there was no road south from here. There was a Los Amigos Road that came in from the east, but there was no main road here. In the 1870s, my dad, who was born in 1862, went to school up at a schoolhouse just east of here a little ways. And he used to ride a horse to school, or a horse or a mule, and he had to get out and open 7 gates on the trail, because he had to go across that many people's farms. We're off to the right here on what is now the Dutra Dairy. At that time it was the Salmon's place. Off to our left was the Miller place. On down the street a ways there was the Anderson place, the Filippini place, and the Doohig place. In 1885, the County of Napa brought suit against all these landowners for right-of-way through here. The suit was settled, and the landowners were paid for their amount of land that they had to sell to the county to make what is now Doohig Road. How about that? That's information you never thought you'd get, and probably wish you hadn't. We're standing by out on what is now the Martinez Ranch. It used to be the Doohig Ranch. Before that, it was the McClure place. We're standing by the wagon shed, the corner of the wagon shed. And see that little door there, Jim? Inside of that, I had a little room, and that's where I had my radio room. Back in, I don't know how long ago, but Joe Drapinski, who went to school with me, was a radio buff from the time. He was born that way, I guess. And he taught me how to make a crystal set. Mm-hmm. And so I had a crystal set. I had an antenna from this building over to the house, and I would sit in there and listen to Morse code by the hour every night. I couldn't understand anything, but I just sit there and listen to it. Then earlier years, we used it as a bedroom for hired men that we would have here. And that was the wagon shed. That's where we put used to keep our wagons, and later on when we got an automobile, we put the automobile in there.
And when was this building built?
I have no idea.
It was here before you?
Oh yeah, it was there. It was there when we came here. It was there. Do you see those pickets up there? That picket fence used to go clear to the corner over there, and the corner by the road was a fig tree that was 30 feet high anyway, tremendously big mission fig tree. My mother used to, in later years, used to get the figs out of there. She'd take the ladder from the tank house and lean it against the tree and climb up in there and reach figs. She was a rather daredevil anyway. And one day the ladder slipped and down she came. She says she came down through the branches just like a leaf falling in the wind. Didn't hurt her. She was pretty tough. Notice that rusted corrugated iron on the roof of that barn. When we moved here in 1909, it had a shingle roof, both the main part of the barn and the two sheds on each side. We put that corrugated iron on. I can remember I was too small to get up on the roof, but I can remember it was a fascinating thing watching my dad and the hired man work up on that roof and putting that iron on. Standing on the north side of the barn, you see that rod laying on the shed roof coming out there? Those went clear across the barn between those two uprights to hold the barn together. You notice the sag in the roof? If they were put back in, the sag would come out of the roof. But the sag in the roof adds color to it. And so when the filming crew came through and wanted to take a picture of the barn, they had to take those rods out, see, so the roof would sag. And then they never got around to putting them back in. You want to buy that?
Filming crew?
No.
Oh.
Okay. See right here by the corner of this old tank house, there was a tree, a sapling, a eucalyptus sapling that grew up there, tall and straight, clear on up above the tank. They got pretty small up there, but I was, probably 7 years old by that time, and I would learn to go up on the tank and then get outside the railing up there by the tank and jump over to the tree and slide down, and that was the most doggone fun. I did that until finally I did it at the wrong time. My mother came out of the house and saw me do it. I'll tell you, it wasn't an hour later that tree was cut down. Okay, Jim, see these two old eucalyptus stumps? Dead and rotten, but they're still standing there alongside of this cattle chute. Do you see that 1.5 inch pipe between those?
Yeah.
That was my acting bar when I was a kid. I put that in there when? 60? 65? Probably awful close, about 70 years ago. And it's been there. You notice it killed the trees. Yeah. That old bar, I wondered if that was there, and it still is. Isn't that beautiful? Son of a gun. What is now the Martinez place at the corner of Doohig Road and Los Amigos Road was at one time the McClure Ranch. That's where the Doohigs moved in 1909. The original Doohig place down the road had been sold to settle the estate. My grandfather got his money and bought the McClure place, which is at the northeast corner of the intersection of Doohig Road and Los Amigos Road. You'll notice those old walnut trees out along Doohig Road beyond the well and the tank there. Those were planted by my father and grafted by him. When we grafted, in those days you planted black walnut trees, let them grow up for a couple of years, and then graft them over to English walnuts. Those old things are still bearing, and my dad died in 1925, and they were big trees at that time. So those were put in there probably about 1910. I would say something like that. The old cypress trees out in front were probably planted sometime around 1875. So it would make them over 100 years old. You notice the top of the one right by the driveway is dying out.
Chicken, won't you roost too high for me?
You see the low part of that house. There are two parts to that house. one story and a two-story part. The low part was built first. I have no idea when, probably in the 1860s or 1870s. The upper part was built probably in the 1880s sometime. See that little window up there with the shutters on upstairs? That was the bathroom, and a true bathroom, because there were no toilet in that thing. It was a zinc, built-in zinc bathtub. And that was better than the place we left, because the place we left, which was right down there, 300 yards, didn't even have a bathtub. You took your bath in the wash tub from the kitchen range. In winter of 1923, Elrin Edgerly, for whom Edgerly Island was named, who was a neighbor of ours up here, he and I wired this place, old knob and tube for electricity. Prior to that time, I was through school at that time, so we got electricity after I didn't have any more homework. Jimmy, you see on the whitewashed wall in this old cow shed a whole bunch of marks, like if somebody was tallying up. Probably that has been there since we lived here, because we used to shear sheep in here. This is where we'd have the sheep shears, and that looks like every time the sheep shearer finished a sheep, he scratched a mark on the wall.
Was that so he could get paid?
So he would know how many sheep he had sheared. That's right, yes. Now there we go. See those old sliding windows? That's where we used to toss the cow manure out. And look at this ceiling. Shakes, not shingles, but it was a shake roof. We put the galvanized iron right on over the shake roof. Those are 3-foot redwood shakes. I don't know if you can buy them anymore, but this was a beautiful old barn in this day. If you can look up in the main part of the barn, you'll see it's also shaked. Put that right on put the sheet metal right on over the shakes, and it makes a good insulation. Also keeps you from falling through the cracks. When we moved here, my dad had a header. Now a header is for cutting grain. It's pulled by 2 to 4 horses and goes along and cuts the grain and puts it onto a draper. The draper goes up into a low-sided wagon, and the headed grain goes up in there. And there's a driver on the wagon. When the wagon gets full, another wagon comes in and takes its place, and the header wagon, first full header wagon, goes over and dumps. And there's a pile. That pile there is where the threshing machine pulls in and thrashes the grain. And every fall, or every spring, getting ready for grain cutting season, my dad and I would overhaul the header. And the first thing I learned was to, every time you take a nut off a bolt and pull a bolt out, you put the nut back on the bolt, because they were all homemade bolts, and nuts made in the blacksmith shop. And no one nut would not fit on somebody else's bolt. It was as simple as that. You made the nut to fit the bolt. And so you put them back on, otherwise you're in trouble when you went to putting it back together again.
I gave my love a cherry that had no stone. I gave my love a chicken that had no bone. I gave my love a baby with no crying. I told my love a story that had no end.
That tank house
How can there be a
was
cherry?
built with good lumber inside. You notice that shiplap that's on the outside, the inside was built the same way, so that between those two walls, which are 4 inches apart, there would be dead air, which is excellent insulation, and it was always cool inside that tank house. We would have, that's where we would, on the concrete floor in there, we would keep our melons all summer long. Over the hill here, we had a little ditch over there, and we used to plow that up and grow our melons, watermelons, muskmelons, and all kinds of stuff. Beautiful melons go over in there until not the SPCA, some other organization got a hold of us and made us quit because the watermelons would grow so fast that on a warm summer moonlight night, you could hear the poor little melons. The vines were growing so fast, the melons was getting drugged to death, screaming and things like that. We had, of course.
So I gave my love a cherry that had no stone, and I gave my love a chicken that had no bone, and I gave my love a baby with no crying, and I told my love a story that had no end.
We're on Los Carneros Avenue, Jim, and this was originally bought before the turn of the century by a man named Cutting. He bought probably a couple of 100 acres in here. He was the first developer, promoter in this part of the country. He split the lots up into 5 and 10 acre places and sold them to people and helped them plant vineyards and orchards. Tremendous number of orchards. He grew plums, pears, apples, very few prunes, mostly fruit that could be shipped. Then Mr. Cutting went down and built Cutting's Wharf. We just turned off Cutting's Wharf Road, right down on the Napa River, as a place from which to ship the fresh fruit that was grown in the Cutting Ranch to markets in San Francisco. And also, there was a railroad ran across there by just this side of Cutting's, just north of Cutting's Wharf, and they could ship by train if they wanted to go east, or ship by boat if they wanted to go to San Francisco. These people in here bought their places. Mr. Cutting set them up, and then they bought them. And he was apparently kind of a benevolent old character because he helped them get rid of all of their produce for years and years and years. And this was the Cutting Tract, then the Cutting Ranch, and now it's Los Carneros Avenue. And Cutting's Wharf down on the river is no more. Used to swim off of it here in early days.
Do you remember the Carrillo? The boat down there?
The boat that Charlie Moore had parked there? Yeah. What about it?
Oh, nothing. I thought you might have had a story about that.
No, that was a Johnny Come Lately.
Make one up.
That was a Johnny Come Lately. A fellow named Charlie Moore came in there. He was said that he was descended from the Spanish conquistadors, and so he got this boat and towed it in there and called it the Cabrillo. And he used to stand up on the brig, the poop deck every night at sundown in his Spanish pirate costume and talk to the water dogs and seals when they come up the river there. He was quite a character.
Is that the truth?
He still lives down there.
He does?
Yeah.
He really does?
Yeah, Charlie Moore does. Yeah, you go down and ask him.